it's also the friendliness of the paddock. All these drivers want to help other drivers, and let's face it, it's not like there's a spares department for any of these cars, so a lot of ingenuity gets put into them because they want to have other people out on track who are close enough to have a good scrap with, but it's the diversity of the machinery that just adds to the mix here. Now we have a change at the top because suddenly it's the Julian Majoub react, but he can't because his lap hasn't improved at any points. So it looks as though by half a second Mark Walker has got to the front. Remember, that's the car that really struggles to get off the line. So maybe starting the first from pole position unless Julian has got a but two very quick cars are going to qualify on the front row of the grid. The Darracq in pole position for Mark Walker and Julian Majoub alongside in his Sunbeam Indianapolis, and car number 30, which is Rob Hubbard driving a Vauxhall 33098, will fill that front row. So three entirely different cars, but there, car number 200 is the Darracq of pole starter Mark Walker. For Albany, by the way, the AUB in the brackets, one of the four houses here, so he's going to potentially get some points in the bag for them. But two parts of the race, one today, Saturday here at Goodwood, and the second of the SF Edge Trophy races tomorrow on Sunday. Neat and tidy official practice session. Charles didn't seem to be, apart from Marcus Black's bouncing around on the grass, which he contained incredibly well. All was smooth and clean, and that's again testament to how these cars are because more and more reliable. So really are making progress. 100 years after the crime.
Yeah, it was all very civilised, which is as it should be. I mean, this open wheel racing and with no brakes. I mean, literally, and apparently it's even harder in the dry because they're going so quick. That the brakes are even less effective in the dry, which seems to make even less sense.
48 and 66 when this circuit was open for racing were for cars for single-seaters or open-top sports cars, but gradually as we went into the 60s, GTs started to become really quite predominant in all degrees of specification. DB4 GT was always a car that went very well here, so it's quite fitting. We've got a handful of those waiting for the first laps to come in. It is a DB4 GT. It's this one, car 46, with, you may not have heard of him, as a young Scottish driver called Darracq Franchitti. One of those drivers who sort of gets in and immediately gets on. He had victory in this car here at Goodwood last year with his NASCAR buddy, which of course is Jimmy Johnson, multiple titles. What an illustrious duo. But whenever you saw them, they were just having the time of their lives. And Darracq understands racing implicitly, because one of the things that his father George, who used to race himself, passed down to Darracq Marino is a love of the history of motor racing. Few contemporary racing drivers even come close, so he understands what he's out in.
It certainly would, and actually Stirling Moss raced this and won here at the Goodwood Easter meeting all the way back in 1960. So fitting, like you said, won the Stirling Moss revival last year, and he'll be hoping to repeat his success in the Moss Trophy this weekend.
Well, first and second for DB4 GTs, 46 on screen, and the car behind is 32. That's Harrison Newey. First and second almost equally matched, but so far with just one flying lap on the board, Darracq is the best part of 9/10 of a second clear of the best so far from Harrison Newey, and Harrison hangs the tail out not once but twice in the green Aston Martin, just behind the similar dark blue.
And the Rover just had the legs of everybody.
Lovely. No, well, that's often the way.
And by the way, Gordon Spice was quicker than I was.
Gordon Spice was one of the all-time greats, wasn't he? And of course, he's part of the weekend's names because his trophy is a very key part of the weekend. Big slides once again from the Golf. But are we going to see any changes in lap times? Doesn't look like it. Oh, actually, yes, we have seen a change there. They've gone slightly quicker, a 1:30.2, and gone fastest by 0.014. That's how close it is.
going. It's not a circuit you can kind of just leap at. You know, it's just letting those brakes off a little bit earlier, running it through. We're having a look here at Michael Russell. Again, he's going to be a man that's absolutely competing. Fantastic. It's a beautiful, this Richard Peckett special Triumph Trident 750cc triple, and Michael riding it in that lovely style of his.
Yeah, and he's on another quick lap actually at the moment. In sector 1, he's just gone even quicker, so he's already set a pace right now, which is nearly 2.5 seconds faster than anybody else. He's obviously on it straight away. Some of the others will be building it up a bit more gradually, but he's on it straight away, and he's fastest in the second sector as well. So it's going very well these couple of laps.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we looked at last year, qualifying was the quickest lap in qualifying was a 1:28.1. Set by Graham Higlett on the Rob North Tridents, and this is certainly going to be, this is going to be pushing it to see. Well, we'll have a little look. Is he going to get into probably the 31 maybe? 29.0, so he's taken 4 seconds off on that lap, and we're expecting fast lap times because conditions are lovely. Getting going, he's 4 seconds quicker than Glenn English, the man we're looking at there on the 350. So. And actually, he's chasing him. I didn't actually realise that. So Russell has got the perfect toe. Glenn English is in front of him there on the 315. If you look in the behind, you can just see Russell there. So he's able to gauge him and use him, and look at him just taking a bit of time out as we come through here. And again, just rolling it through, and actually might have got the inside. Look, it's a lot quicker. Yeah.
That is amazing, and you have to say the F750 is certainly looking to be the quickest machine right now. Michael Russell on this Triumph Trident with its 3-cylinder 750 is working so well. He's getting such speed, and it's not just in a straight line with the power. He's going quick through the corners as well.
He is. He's absolutely flying. He's certainly.
There he is. He's just come through the first corner. Only 8 minutes of this practice session remaining, so he goes through the pretty much flat Ford water, dips slightly downhill, and then you'll see it will start to rise once again as they go up to St Mary's, which will always get brilliant shots as you hook it into the right, then throw it into the left, and a good workout being taken place behind the 711 of Guy Smith.
Yeah, it's lovely to watch. The Lotus Cortina, the Mark 1s that were first created in 1963, and because Ford wanted to get into motorsport, they made the connection with Lotus, and of course the Ford Lotus connection would come along even more strongly in later on. So, but it's wonderful. A debut on track in September '63 by Jack Sears and Trevor Taylor at Alton, and they were often driven by stars back in the days. Jackie Stewart, Graham Hill, for example, they raced these Lotus Cortinas. That was a time, Alice, wasn't it, when Formula One drivers didn't just race Formula One, they raced all sorts of things.
And that's what I say, go back in time, and it's much better. I mean, they're so limited of what they can do, Formula One drivers these days, in their contracts. Wouldn't it have been nice to have seen some of them, maybe not this weekend, it's the Bahrain Grand Prix, of course, but dip in and move across to trying other things, as Smith again extends his lead at the top of the time to 1:31.5 now, 1.3, nearly 1.4 seconds clear of Max.
Now it's turn for a second Chevrolet. We've seen the Camaro, now it's the turn of the Corvette with former British Touring Car champion Andrew Jordan on board. This is a car that raced mainly in the German series, very, very popular in the ADAC GT Masters series, and certainly lots of fans for the big rumbling Chevrolet Corvette come the world of Germany.
Look at the way he's preparing to come through the chicane. Slow in, but hard on it as early as possible on the exit. Give it one!
He certainly will. Getting the focus down towards the first corner. Andrew Jordan knows this circuit very, very well indeed. Has had huge success in historic racing, following on from his father Mike. They prepare an amazing array of cars. But you know what these racing drivers like, John, as you would have done in period, just driving different things and giving it maximum attack.
Well, certainly Andrew Jordan, we can expect that from him. He's had so much success here at Goodwood over so many years, other than the revival, all the members meeting as we are this weekend. Then down into Ford water through the first part of St Mary's. Again, it's getting the nose in, just rides the curve that little bit on the entry, slightly deflects the car, but manages to pick it up and gets a clean run down into Lavin. A little bit nervy under braking, but again gets the nose in, makes his first part of the apex, second part just there as we got out of the corner. Late apex, Part 2.
I could be wrong, but I think he's rather blown his lap. His entry to St Mary's, he was very, very deep, which compromised his line through the second part of the corner where the track goes over the crest, then down into the compression. But right now, of course, he's using all the horsepower that the Corvette has to see if he can claw all that back. Target time, 1 minute 15.410 seconds. We won't know for about another 10 seconds how well Andrew Jordan has gone. We haven't got the splits up on the screen, nothing to let us know, but all but scraping the paint off the front of the chicane wall ahead of him. Will Phil Keane still be at the top? Andrew Jordan's time about to flick onto the screen.
Inside here so he doesn't get held up. Oh, he just does it. He squeezes up the inside of Stuart Tongue, number 17 there. What's he going to do as he crosses the line? His best lap was a 1:28.6. Is he going to beat that? Let's have a look, 1:28.0. So he does. He takes off another 0.6 of a second. 25 seconds left, so he'll get one more lap in.
Yeah.
Again, you see his knee down, crossing all those bumps. He's got to get it tucked in and drive it. So he's getting a good lap from him.
It's lovely to watch, isn't it? And just see the skills involved and just how through the flat-out right-hander, then into the more tricky right-left. You've got to get the balancing right here, haven't you?
You have, but it's beautiful. It's so fast. You've really got to run it through this right. Don't want to use too much of the track. You want to get it back from this left. There's a bit of a bump. Track drops away, so you've got to watch the rear tyre. And then you're back down into second for the start of these. And again, he's on a good lap. We'll have a little look. Hopefully he was going to catch them just as he comes out the next right, and he can use them in his slipstream rather than he get held up. And there he is, and that looks like Maria Costello on the CB750 Honda. He's just passing there, OBE, and he comes up. I can't quite see who that is in front of him. There you can see a really good idea of the speed difference as well, and that bike is absolutely flying.
It is flying, absolutely. Graham Higglett's doing a great job, but is he going to get any closer? He is currently second fastest.
I think he might get in the 27s with this. It looks like a neat, quick lap to me. He's just got to watch it here. I know he's not going to get held up at all, but he drives out and he comes underneath under Daniel Pritchard, comes to the line. What's he going to be? 28.0 to beat for himself.
Yeah, you're right.
1:27.2. That takes a big chunk off, so he'll be really pleased with that.
That was a great lap. You can see in the background the white and red, number 31. So that's Andy Prio, multiple European touring car champion, and a brilliant success here, of course, over the years. One of the captains of as well, so we will be keeping a close eye on Andy Prio, one of the captains of
1.5, and you can see the outside left wheel on Jake Hill's Ford flexing slightly. We've got a spinner already. That's
onto the grass there. Now this looks like a separate thing.
you possibly with that car, potentially locking round of the lap there. But Jade hasn't done much historic racing at all, and she's raced in British touring cars, but due to funding's not been able to race in it for a couple of seasons. But so nice to see her back out again.
Well, I'm delighted we've just moved across to number 70. I was about to suggest that we ought to look and see what Gareth Burnett's getting up to. The little Alta two-seater sports car. So one of the newest cars in the field. It was 1938, so just before the Second World War, and this pre-war period came to an end. But the Alta, great little car, and it really is small in comparison. When you walk around the paddock, it sort of disappears until you come across it next to Invictas and the Gondas and Bentleys. But Gareth Burnett, very, very quick driver. This is top of the times. He just moved to the top, and top by 4 seconds. So what I was going to say, the drivers fully at home with their cars, the drivers like Pat Blakeney Edwards are all going to be quick early on because they needed one sight a lap, not two, as the others got used to where the oil was lying. But Gareth Burnett, again, would be among the number of those who are prepared to press on. But 4 seconds clear. But I've got to just point out the fact that, of course, the TT replicas that Pat Blakeney Edwards, Clive Fidgen are driving are much older cars. They're the start of the 30s. This is little Alta. Decided, you know, small might just be that little bit better, get rid of some of that weight, and certainly an Alta in his hands is always going to be quick, but 4 seconds clear, that's fantastic.
That's really impressive. Fastest across the whole board in the sectors, and actually this is one of only 6 Alta Sports produced and the only unsupercharged version. So heads down into Woodcote, fighting ever so slightly at the wheel. Got a little bit of traffic. Is that potentially the number 5 Aston Martin, another one of the 10/10ths Motorsport? Holly Mason, Frank Kitty at the wheel of that, but Burnett will come across the line.
Right, now having a look now at another of the Chevrons, the number 95 with Sam and Ben Mitchell, and this one is apparently the only left-hand drive B8, Chevron B8, to leave the factory, and it was the first B8 chassis produced. So took part in many world sports car events between 68 and 72, and it was actually competed by the head of BMW competitions department, and then it was stored for many years, but then it came back just a few years ago here at Goodwood. And I think in many ways, Alex, this Goodwood members meeting, it's lovely that some of the cars that have been sitting in garages not doing anything, they're inspired, people are inspired to bring them here.
They are, and word gets out, and this is such a big event. Not just this Festival of Speed, but Revival as well. One of my most favourite events of the year, along with this members meeting as well. It's just fantastic to see a variety of old cars. We just saw one of the Ford GT40s. That was the Jeremy Cottingham and James Cottingham car. And back to the 95 there of the Ben and Sam Mitchell, who did get a nice little slipstream from the number 6, the Lynn Lotterer car. Hoping, will Ben, I think that's Ben behind the wheel, that he's not going to get boxed too much going into the final chicane, maybe ever so slightly, but I'll enjoy getting a nice toe up the main straight to set another lap. So the drivers you will see come in at some point during this session to of course take that driver change, and Ben jumps to the very top of the times, a 1:21.3, nearly 7/10 clear of the number 6 that's in front of him.
I remember watching these cars back in about 1962 or 3. Ken Tyrrell brought his Formula Junior team over to Dunboyne in Ireland, and I never witnessed racing cars so fast. They were just absolutely stunning to watch.
Sam Wilson now setting the pace. Talking of Coopers, he's on board a Cooper Ford engine T59, run successfully by Gerard Racing in period, and of course you have to remember the teams ran multiple entries back then, raced in as many championships they could to get the starting money, but Sam prepares cars, races them, has been supremely successful, a lot of success at Goodwood, so he knows which way this track is pointing. The nose bobbing so close to the surface of the track there in the compression, John.
I'm just watching under braking how much dip or droop there is under, and you don't see that in contemporary motor racing, contemporary single-seaters, but these cars are a completely different era, philosophy and suspension design. You know, that weight transfer to the front would give you a little bit maybe additional grip when you make your turn, and again the bottom of the nose cone almost rubbing on the racetrack.
Yeah, it's really showing the dynamics, and again you can see Sam balancing on the throttle there, just getting the tail.
Number 31 of James Thorpe that we were talking about, and there we are having another look at that. So going second fastest, but we're very early into this qualifying session and it can all change very quickly.
Yeah, he's got perfect track position. He's just set fastest of anybody in the first sector and now the middle sector as well, so he has taken it steady, let's say, for the couple of early laps, but looking like he's starting to push now. Just comes out of a really tricky Woodcote corner on the brakes through the chicane, close to the one barrier, then close to the next, almost brushing your wing mirrors on the edge of the barriers there. He has a check of the pit board as he goes across the line, plenty of information that the teams will put on that, including position, maybe the fastest lap time remaining of the session as well, because they've got no radio communication in here, so all got to do make the decisions themselves or have use of the pit wall. But he's just dipped in the first car to dip into the 128.
Yeah, that was a good lap. That was a very good lap that we watched. And